Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about my updated election prediction post-debate now that we do have more data, more polling and everything, more numbers after the debate. And again, this is my updated election forecast. I do one every month or so, but I will start to do them more consistently. Just a quick rundown of some new stuff we have here. Most importantly, we have this poll from Iowa, a state that we really never talk about. It's a state we don't really need to talk about, because it still is very likely to go to Donald Trump. But Ann Selzer is an A+ rated pollster. She is the best pollster in the nation. Selzer pollsters are the best, and they only poll Iowa, and they do them very rarely because they're so expensive because of how accurate they are, and they get it spot on every time. Okay, they get the results spot on every time. So what did this poll show? It showed that Donald Trump is ahead in the state of Iowa by 4%, a measly 4%. It is Iowa, remember. Iowa voted for Donald Trump the last time by 8 percentage points. Last time, in Ann Selzer's final poll, he was ahead by 7. So in the state of Iowa, a rural state that I didn't really think Kamala Harris would make that many huge gains among voters compared to Joe Biden with, considering Biden was more moderate, a white male who's going to appeal, I thought, to these more rural voters. Kamala Harris would not. But even in a state like that, a rural state, Kamala Harris is doing 4 points better than Joe Biden did, 4.2% better in 2020. I mean, that would result to an absolute landslide, and it's so hard, as we go through this prediction, it's so hard not to keep this Ann Selzer poll in mind, because she is a polling mastermind. We have to remember that give a point here, or give a point in either direction, a point and a half max, the results are somewhere around 4%. It's probably, Trump is probably leading by 5.5% max, but probably more like 4%, because she does get it spot on, like, every single time. So it is so hard to go through this election prediction and not keep in mind this Iowa poll for the entire nation. I think it really is relevant to the entire nation right now. So this is the election if it were held tomorrow. So we will start with our safe Democratic states. These are states that will be decided by a 15% margin or more. So we know how they're going to go. Mostly, yeah, it's all of the 2020 Biden safe states, and I actually think that Kamala Harris adds one. That's Colorado. It's trending towards the left at all. So she wins quite a few electoral votes just from the safe states, which does put her at a substantial lead to start off with. So that, after her safe state, she has 191 electoral votes, already a very good chunk of votes. And then Donald Trump also has likely states, but many fewer electoral votes, as you will see. Again, 15-point margins for both these candidates, so that's Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, the Dakotas, Nebraska at large, Nebraska's first, Nebraska's 3rd district. I'm going to leave Nebraska's 1st district for now. I think that's going to be likely. And then we have Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, West Virginia, Indiana, all safe states. So after Donald Trump's safe states, he and J.D. Vance have 96 electoral votes. Kamala Harris, Tim Walz have 191. So obviously, an immediate advantage for the Democratic Party by almost a whole 100 electoral votes. So now we will move on to likely states. These are states that will be decided by a 5 to 15% margin for their respective candidate. So they're close, right? A 5% margin, a 6% margin is nothing to scoff at, but we generally do know the direction that they're going to vote, and it would be a pretty huge surprise, really, if they voted the other way. So we'll start with the Democrats, as we always do, since they do hold the White House right now. So again, 5 to 15% margins for either candidate. So we do have a significant batch of pretty Democratic states that were looking competitive when Biden was the nominee, but the presumptive Democratic nominee, that is. But Harris has completely turned the tide, and that's the good thing about Harris as the nominee for Democrats. She really doesn't have to put much effort in these states, that were sort of close in 2020. Minnesota's Biden plus 7, New Mexico Biden plus 10, New Hampshire Biden plus 7. She really doesn't have to put in too much effort, and she can actually focus on these other swing states. I mean, if any effort at all. So these states like New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, Maine, New Hampshire, and Nebraska's 2nd district, those are the 5 states plus 1 district that I have in mind. I don't think they will be that close. I bet Harris makes gains in all of them, but it won't quite be a safe margin. That's what I think right now. So now we will move on. We do have more, but we'll actually get back to them to make it more exciting, but we do have some more likely Democratic states. But for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, he's got Kansas, he's got Missouri, he's got Nebraska's 1st district, he's got South Carolina. These are very Republican states, but wouldn't quite be at that likely margin. Missouri, I do think Harris narrows down to make it a likely state. It was safe in 2020. And Montana's tough for a safe, to be on the safe side. I'll keep it a safe state, which is funny. And then we have Alaska. That one's also going to be safe. Here's Trump plus 10, but that one actually does narrow up by a few points. Probably more like a 7-point victory there in Alaska. And then we have Maine's 2nd district. I think that this one will be very close to being lean, but Donald Trump does have some sort of strange a stranglehold on Maine's 2nd. I mean, it actually is very reasonable to say it's lean. I am gonna put that one lean, so we'll get to that. So scratch that. Maine's 2nd is not likely. I can change my opinion in these. And then we come to Ohio and Iowa. Now, we got to be honest, I do think that Donald Trump is ahead by more than 4 points in the state of Iowa. I think he is ahead by at least 5 points. Again, I brought up that Ann Selzer poll, and of course, we have to keep this in mind. But I do believe that he is ahead, at least by Election Day, that he will be ahead by more than 4 points. I just don't see it. I'm going to be honest, I don't have the data. This is the only good poll that we have had in months. I think actually since Harris became the candidate, the presumptive nominee. I don't think we've had any other poll, but I'm just basing it off of vibes. I don't think that Harris can trend Iowa by 4.2%. I think that, if considering this data, I think that she'll come extremely close, and I don't want to doubt Ann Selzer because she is a legend in the polling industry. But right now, I am going to put it right at a 5-point margin. I think that maybe this is off by a point, and that it is a 5-point margin as of now. So Iowa does go to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance by a likely margin, but Ohio is a bit more interesting. They're slightly more of a Democratic than 2020. I mean, barely 8 points versus 8.2 points. So it is a question of can Kamala Harris trend the state 3 points to the right, this Iowa poll says she can do in Iowa. I don't think so. Again, I think Donald Trump is more at 5 right now, considering this number that we have here plus 4, and considering everything else, I would place her I would place Donald Trump at being ahead by 5 in the state of Iowa. So that would be a 3-point shift from 2020. Ohio, I think, it's going to be closer to a 5-point margin, but I mean, these two states, they barely trended leftward at all in 2020, and I don't think that Harris has enough horsepower to really, trend at 4 points like the Iowa poll says. But I do think she will come extremely close, and Ohio is a likely margin state. So, with that being said, that concludes our likely states, unless, I'm very torn on one, that being the state of Michigan, but right now, I am going to leave it at that. So, after likely states, Donald Trump is at 148 electoral votes, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz at 226, so still a substantial lead for Harris and Walz, but Trump and Vance still do have Texas and Florida, that's 70 electoral votes combined. So lean Democratic states, these are states that will be decided by a 1 to 5% margin, so pretty close, and these really can go other way, but we aren't certain. So starting with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, of course, lean Democratic states, absolutely the state of Michigan, absolutely the state of Nevada. These are two states that I was considering putting likely, and I did have likely for a brief period right after the Iowa poll came out. If you look at the 2020 margins, Biden won Michigan by 2.8. Nevada went to Biden by 2.4. But I just don't feel that she will have enough power to really trend it, 2.2% to the left or more. I don't think so. It's possible. It's certainly possible. I think it's in the 4-point margin right now for Harris. I think that she does make gains in both these states, considering this Ann Selzer poll. I mean, all the highest quality pollsters after the debate show Kamala Harris, winning the popular vote by very healthy margins. I mean, just look at the latest popular vote polls. Harris +4, +4, +4, +4, +5, +5, +6 from Ipsos, +6. A Big Village poll had Harris up by 8 today, but they're not a very good pollster, but still, by 8. That's absurd. Whatever. Insane is a better word to use. But looking at, she's making gains across these states, even if it's not apparent yet, is what I'm noticing in many of these battleground states. You can see, she hasn't taken a gain, but that's because there are, of course, less battleground state polls, so it'll take time to see that gain. The last one we had was the day after the debate, which was this strange poll from Insider Advantage that did have Trump ahead, that really narrowed the average down to a very concerning for Harris 1.5%. So yes, I do think that Kamala Harris way outpaces expectations, really in every battleground state, to be honest. I really think she does. When you look at the voter registration numbers among key demographics that break towards the Democrats, voter registration is surging. That's young African Americans, that's young Latinas, that's African Americans in general. That voter registration is surging compared to 2020, tripling from a time period in 2020 to 2024. So yeah. So Michigan, I think, is lean. Nevada, I think, is lean for Harris. These are states that do, that Democrats always do perform well in. Nevada is a state that's always close, but Democrats always pull out with the win. It's what it seems like it always happens in Nevada. And then Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer won re-election by, 8, 9, 10 points in 2022. Some of these battleground states, yes, they're battleground, but there are more Democrats than Republicans. It's that simple. And a lot, substantial amount more who at least turn out to vote. That's proven election after election. And, the case for Kamala Harris is that all you need is a normal Democrat to run against Trump who can efficiently make the case why Trump will be an awful president, and you win the election just like that. It's easy. Hillary Clinton was not that person with all the other scandals and concerns going on with her. I really do think that Kamala Harris can serve as that person, just a normal candidate who can make the case against Donald Trump. So that's why I do think that Kamala Harris won't have too much trouble in these battlegrounds like Michigan and Nevada. And I do think that she wins Pennsylvania. I think that she will be able to really excel in the suburbs of Pennsylvania. I've talked about this many times, but the biggest trend from 2016 to 2020, and it's even apparent in insane results from 2012, even in 2016, 2020. But putting it simply, in 2016, the part of the state that trended most towards the Democrats was the suburbs. And that's because you went from, traditionally close Pennsylvania suburbs to then Biden versus Trump in 2020 during the midst of COVID, the protests, everything like that. And, these family-oriented voters, right, these parents, these suburban voters, they just wanted a return to normalcy. And they turned their backs against Donald Trump. It was really insane to see. Chester County, Pennsylvania voted for Hillary by 9.5. 4 years later, voted for Biden by 17. This county trended 7.6% to the left, when the state trended about 2 points to the left. And even 2012, Chester, I won't go. It's so hard to wrap your mind around. But Chester County, Pennsylvania voted for Mitt Romney in 2012 when Obama won the state by 5. Okay, but Romney won Chester County by 0.2. 4 years later, the state became more Republican overall. Donald Trump now won the state 49 to 48, but Chester County went to Hillary by 10 points. Chester County trended 10 points to the left, and Chester County, but Pennsylvania statewide trended 6 points to the right. It's impossible to wrap your mind around, but it's because Romney was a normal candidate. Suburban voters were okay with him. But Donald Trump, they have hated forever, And I think that they will hate him, as he ages, as he becomes more unhinged. I think that they will hate him in 2024 more than ever. My hot take is that Harris doesn't even have trouble in Pennsylvania. I think it's a 3 to 4 point victory in Pennsylvania. I really do. I think it'll be very similar to what John Fetterman was able to do in the state of Pennsylvania in 2020. He was losing in polls, but he won by 5 points. Pennsylvania, I think, is lean Democratic. I think that Arizona is lean Democratic. This was a Biden state in 2020. Democrats have been performing consistently well here in the past few elections. Went to Biden by 0.3, but I mean, just again, this Anselzer poll, I can't get over it. The state of Iowa is trending 4 points to the left. Then a state like Arizona must be trending at least 2 points to the left. That is what I would think, at least. So, that, and, I would put one more. Wisconsin has been very iffy to me this whole time, but I would also, with the rest of the Rust Belt, I would also put that into the Harris characterization. Oh my god, lean Democratic characterization for Harris. That's not crazy to say at all, considering these other characterizations. And they already have won the election. Now, as for Donald Trump, main second district obviously goes to him. It does narrow up a little bit. And then he also does have Texas. He also does have Florida. That's huge, so it's not a blowout. But Florida stays lean. Went to him by 3.4. Again, it's looking like a state like Florida, which has been trending right in recent elections. With the national trend to the left, I think it stays pretty stagnant as of right now. And then we have Texas, which went to Trump by 5.6. Harris looks very good among young Latinos. Voter registration is surging among that group, which breaks heavily towards the Democrats. If she can run up her numbers among Latino voters, and we've got the suburbs around Houston and Dallas that are growing enormously. You've got a surge of wine moms in the state. If they turn out for Harris in adequate numbers, then the state will be able to trend a little bit to the left. I can't remember the last time I've had Texas trending to the left at all in 2024. I mean, this map is completely new. This map, after the Anselzer poll, after the debate, it really does change everything. Just want to throw that out there. And then both these states are tilt. Georgia and North Carolina. That means less than 1%. They're toss-ups. They could go either way. But I do think that Harris wins both. Georgia shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, considering the Anselzer poll, the nation shifting towards the left, and, the map, the rest of the map, every other battleground state is going to Harris. So Georgia, which did go to Biden by 0.2, I mean, he won it, that's the point in 2020, I think he will be able to again. And then we have North Carolina. Now, North Carolina is important because that's a flip. It voted for Trump by 1.3. But North Carolina is one of the fastest growing states. The metro areas in North Carolina are rapidly becoming more Democratic. That means more Harris votes. More votes in the cities means more votes for Kamala Harris. This is also an extremely diverse state. Not only a high proportion of African Americans, but a significant and growing number of Latino voters. Both of those demographics, voter registration, again, is surging among, and polling, I forgot to mention this before, but polling, frequently misses first-time voters. They always underestimate them. In 2022, they were underestimated, and there was a surge of first-time young voters who were white men in 2016 that turned out for Trump. Polling absolutely missed that. That's what allowed Trump to win. So we could see a reverse kind of situation there. North Carolina, again, a trending left state. And Trump, I believe, is just going to suffer, losses. I was trying to say gosses, like gains and losses, but losses nationwide in 2024. So mix that in with a very narrow state that went red in 2020, North Carolina, and now goes to Kamala Harris. So in the end, it's not that close on the electoral count. It's 319 for Kamala Harris. It is 219 for Donald Trump, J.D. Vance. So that's my prediction as of now. This is my forecast. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for 10,000 subscribers. And I will see you all later. Thanks again for watching.